Hello everyone, I'm Hannah Connor and this is Marshall Close Up. Today I have with me recent member of Kentucky House of Representatives and current Calloway County Judge / Executive and previous owner of Imes Funeral Home / Crematory, Kenny Imes.
Hi.
How you doing today, Kenny?
I'm very well, thank you.
Great. When you were young, did you think you'd become someone so important and integral to your community or such a valued politician?
No, it was a long time ago to remember when I was young. I don't know what I was thinking at the time, Hannah. No, I pretty well, I think from an early age, 10 years old even, had some interest in politics, and then my family being in the funeral business, to me they're kind of the same thing. You're all about public service. And so it's been kind of a hop, skip, and a jump back and forth between the two of them, but I feel like I've accomplished a lot of my goals in life and trying to be a good public servant, whether it's been funeral directing or being in the legislature or now county government, whatever. It's just giving back to the community. We've been very blessed.
All right. Were there any stressful parts of elections that you've been in?
Say again?
Were there any stressful parts of elections you've been in?
No, I don't think so. I think the very first time I ran, I was 24 years old for the legislature, and for, 2 or 3 days, I had apparently lost by 68 votes. And then the guy that presumably beat me was the incumbent legislator, and he thought there was a machine messed up at the courthouse, and anyway, they did the recount. There was a little piece of tape, had one of the numbers covered up, the hundreds number, and so I wound up winning the race by 32 votes rather than losing by 68. Nice. So that was kind of an interesting way to start off your political career.
Yeah. Was there any point where you've ever wanted to give up during an election?
No, I don't think so, Hannah. I love politics, and I don't say that from a partisan nature. Just the overall thing, and having been in the legislature, and my wife now being in the legislature, meeting the friends that I've made over 50 years there, and how that intermingles with county government. I mean, over half of them I know on first name basis, and committee chairs, administrations. Just being able to get your foot in the door, be able to sit down and talk to somebody and them recognize and actually listen, which so often we got 2 or 3 things on our mind and trying to understand it.
Would you say there's a significant difference between state government and county government?
Oh yes. In fact, one of the things I have learned is you ought to be in county government before you're in state government. It just gives you a perspective. It's a closer field. You've got a smaller area of people you're working with. And then two, to take that experience county level. I mean, county government is really the first seat of a political subdivision of the state. So if you've got a good handle on that, then when you do go to the legislature, you can present it from a different perspective. Most legislators never served as a commissioner or a judge executive or a magistrate, so they don't really know what you're talking about, like jail funding and all that. See, that is a state statute. It's passed on to the county, and they don't understand the county is responsible to pay for it, but they are state prisoners. That's the irony of the thing. They haven't violated. I only had one person in my jail in the last 3.5 years that violated the county ordinance. All the rest of them violated state statutes. So the state should be maintaining the jails much better than they are, and they made significant progress with this last session.
Wow. Did you ever find it hard to balance your political and family lives while also owning the funeral home?
Well, I think, all 3 of them. I wasn't home. We had 2 children when I went into the legislature, had a 3rd one while I was in the legislature, and as everybody down here knows, Frankfort is 260 miles, or it is from my home. And you're away a lot, and even more so now. But the interim committee systems have taken a lot of time, and then your personal trying to run a business when you're 260 miles away. We got telephones and cell phones and all that now, but taking care of the families that had called you for funeral service, and you change suits, and you actually put a suit on for the funeral home, or I usually do, and typically wear suits or dress like I am today on the legislative floor. So it doesn't clash. I think they complement each other, but you see people at the worst stages in their life, and then you also see them, at really joyous. So it's worked very well for us.
All right. What was the funeral/crematory business like during COVID?
I didn't see really that much of it. We're in what we used to call the Bible Belt here, and cremation, 50 years ago, we would do a cremation at a funeral home, or maybe even Calloway or Marshall County might do 1 or 2 in a 5-year period, where now roughly, I'd say 30% of people use cremation over burial for whatever reason. I mean, you've got people that have moved in here, they're more used to it. Again, people that brought up and went to church, I remember hearing from the pulpit, cremation would send you to a place you didn't want to go, and while that's not true, that was an inference, but I think you're seeing obviously a lot more cremation. I know out west, they're probably at 60-70% cremations, and it's what a person wants, family wants, whatever.
How did you decide it was finally time to pass on the family funeral home to your son, Matt?
Well, when I got back in my second round of politics, that had a lot to do with it. Matt was of age. He'd worked under Mary Beth and I, married a great girl. Wendy has been instrumental in carrying on the business, and I felt comfortable in making that transition from, just like I got it from my grandparents on both sides of the family, and then making it, there's time you want to do it while you're still alive and fully functional, so you can kind of follow, and then you go and help sometimes, and maybe I'll do this a little different way. And society has changed the way we do business. Funerals, visitations, and all that are totally different now. So Matt has come in at a good time to, take the good parts of the old and the good parts of the new and kind of mesh them together.
Yeah. Who do you think deep down helped you the most during every election? This can be anyone from staff to friends to family, or even your sweet dog, Duchess.
Duchess probably helps me as much as anything, and Mary Beth. Duchess she's a 75-pound boxer, and I mean, every time you walk in the door, she's there to greet you, and it doesn't matter whether you've had a good day or a bad day. She just crawls up in your lap and wants you to rub her. I think she gets as much out of it as I do. But definitely Mary Beth, I mean, to have a person that you're with every day that understands you, that we've been married almost 56 years, grew up together, known each other all of our lives. She was my childhood sweetheart, my high school sweetheart, and we lived 2 doors from each other, so I mean, it was just, and there wasn't any question in my mind that's who I'd marry someday. But she has been the go-to, and then our family, our kids, our grandkids, they have all been so very supportive with her and with me, both in our elections. I mean, ironically, she is running for one job this year, and I'm running for another, for the one I have. It's been, I mean, we didn't know how that'd work out, but she doesn't have any opposition, so that made things a lot different and simpler, I guess.
Oh, good. What would you say was the hardest part of your career?
Oh, I don't know, Hannah. The hard part is seeing a family hurting, who've lost a child or a parent even though we know that, but to be with them at that time is really the hard part. But you've got to be sympathetic, understanding, compassionate, and try to understand their feelings until it happens to you. Like, I've never lost a child, but I can relate, I think, and I've seen Mary Beth sit there. I remember meeting with a lady, and she'd lost her daughter, young girl, and we took her out of the casket. The mother wanted to hold her one last time, and Mary Beth and I and the mother sat there in a room for about 45 minutes, and trying to console her, and that's tough. It's tough, but it's rewarding in that being a Christian, trying to give people hope and understand the message of the gospel, and that there is life after this one, and hopefully everybody will see each other again.
Very sweet. What do you love most about your current job as the Calloway County Judge?
Oh, it's being able to, people call in, and that's one thing I didn't learn even though I was a magistrate prior to this, back, 12, 15 years ago. When people come in your office, you never know what they're coming in for. And fortunately, we were able, even through COVID, our doors were open every single day. Even when I closed the courthouse, one of us, Gina Winchester, my deputy judge, or Lisa, we were there to try to help people. And it runs the whole gamut of what people need. I should have started a journal about the different things people can come up with. You think you've heard it all, but there's something almost new every day. And whether it's fixing a pothole, or somebody hit a cow, or somebody's trespassing, or I've got chickens in my yard, why don't you get the animal control people to come get the chickens out of my yard? It's just trying to satisfy people and be helpful. But one thing I have found, Hannah, is that people want somebody to listen to and show that they're interested in what you're saying, laugh with them, cry with them. People just, I'm afraid that's one thing we're losing so much of in the current situation, generation, is just people sitting down talking, just talking normally. You don't have to go to a bar, and you don't have to get on the golf course, but I think that's just somebody to listen to you as an individual or a group that's got a general issue with we closed 3 roads, didn't close parts of 3 roads last week in the county, and have people come out and tell how it's beneficial or if it would hurt them. And fortunately, everybody was for what we were doing. And trying to balance a budget, that's one of the big things you do as county judge, is you lay a budget out during the first part of the year, and then you try to keep everybody to understand this is taxpayer money. You don't want to hear to be frivolous, but if you need something and it will better the sheriff's office, the county attorney's office, clerk's office, PVA, whatever, you try to be as accommodating you can, get back in the real world. Our biggest problem, Hannah, right now is overall infrastructure. We've got a courthouse that's 107 years old and all that. Cut me off if I start rambling too much. I can sit here all day.
Well, that's all the time we have today. Do you have anything to say to any aspiring politicians?
No, really the only thing I'd say is most of you are in high school now. You're either approaching the age of majority, which is 18 in Kentucky. If you're not registered now, get registered and vote. I don't care which party you register with, but be active in your community. Be active with your city council, your county government. Show up, show them you're interested, listen to what they're doing. Understand, civics is a great thing, but you're not going to get it and just look here in the studio unless you have some real life experience with it. So get involved.
All right. Well, thank you for coming today. I'm Hannah Connor, and this is Marshall Close Up.